Hi guys, it's a bit early for Fool of the Week, but my god, Lord Robathan would certainly make the grade. So as the Rwanda bill saw its Lord's amendments defeated in the House of Commons, you have Tories and Tory peers coming up with the most ridiculous excuses to keep pushing the bill, which tries to suggest that Rwanda is now magically safe even though the Supreme Court has said otherwise. Here Lord Dubs, an advocate for human rights, clashed with a fellow peer who came up with the stupidest response ever.
30 years ago, but at the moment, in the recent past, we're supposed to be sending people under this legislation to Rwanda, and yet we're taking people from Rwanda as refugees in this country. Oh, I don't know, half a dozen or so. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, about half a dozen.
It doesn't matter. The fact is we're taking them. Therefore, Uganda can't be a total...
I don't think any of the people we're planning on sending there are intending to try and undermine the government. Now, the government, I'm not defending the government of Rwanda, I hasten to add, but the people that we've let in are opponents of the government. I don't think any of the people that we're sending are going to be opponents of the government. So there'll be...
What? What the hell did he just say? So it's okay to send people to Rwanda as long as they're not opponents to the government, and the only people that have been taken in are opponents of the government. This guy is trying to sell the idea that Rwanda is a safe country. It's a safe country as long as you don't disagree with the government. Now, at what level is that no longer acceptable? Like, can you vote against the governing party? Is that disagreeing with the government? Can you express yourself on social media against the government? Is that grounds for someone to be granted asylum or not? Is that still within the realm of safe country? You have these Tories trying to sell the idea that Rwanda is a safe country. Then when they have to accept the reality that some people have been granted asylum from Rwanda, even if it's a small number, his response is, well, there are people who disagree with the government. But it's still a safe country.
Look, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. We're sending people from here to Rwanda. You're saying it's a safe country. And yet we're taking people from Rwanda who are claiming and being given refugee status here. Not 30 years ago, but now.
Yeah, but that's because they are opposing the government, and the government in Rwanda is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. However, it is a perfectly safe country to live in if you don't oppose the government and try and...
He's done it again. It's a perfectly safe country if you don't oppose the government. So as long as you vote for the governing party, you don't write anything on social media against the government, you'll be perfectly fine. And you could apply that to pretty much any country in the world. You know, we shouldn't be granting asylum to people from Iran if they've been opposing the government. if they just keep their head down, keep their mouth shut, don't write anything on social media against the regime, they'll be perfectly fine. And if they do, well then, it's their own fault.
Undermine it. And I go back to my point. 1 in 8 people were murdered in Rwanda only 30 years ago in living memory. And if you've been there, as I have, it is the most appalling atrocity that occurred. And now Rwanda is a very safe, prosperous country. And this nonsense about not being safe is ridiculous.
Well,
but you just said it's not safe if you disagree with the government.
Look, first of all, you're probably quite unhappy about it anyway. It's a nonsense of legislation. It is embarrassing for the government, and it is embarrassing for this country. We're saying the Supreme Court doesn't matter. Our international obligations don't matter. As a country, we've always been as good as our word. We've always stuck by international agreements and conventions. Now we're saying, let's tear them up, because for some other reason, we don't want them anymore.
Well, I don't agree with that. Actually, the rule of law in this country has been hugely important. Unfortunately, we are now entering the rule of lawyers, where lawyers are making their own decisions based on their own feelings. Now, I'm afraid
lawyers are not deciding. It's the judges that decide. The judges interpret the law. But they can also reject something if it's unlawful. This bill is unlawful. The bill can't say that Rwanda is safe if the Supreme Court has said that it isn't. Well, if you apply this logic to other areas, then Rishi Sunak could just say, there isn't an NHS waiting list. We have legislated that there isn't an NHS waiting list. We can also legislate that that there is no inflation, that inflation is zero. We have legislated that inflation is zero. There, see, problem solved. Like, this is what this bill tries to suggest. It's trying to say that Rwanda is a safe country, even though NGOs have said it's not, the United Nations have said it's not, and British judges have said it's not. And the fact, even if you discard all of that, the fact that the Home Office is granting asylum to people means that it's not a safe country. And even this Tory peer, if you dig a bit deeper, he realizes that, yeah, it's not a safe country because, well, if you disagree with the government, you'd be probably ending up in jail or worse. How is that a safe country? Maybe it's the sort of utopia you would like to live in, but most people don't want that. My goodness. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.